Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. On this episode, let's take an early look at Siri for Mac OS Sierra. So I'm using the second developer beta of Sierra, which should be about the same as the first public beta of Sierra. And this is how Siri works so far. You've got three main ways you can activate Siri. One is an icon here in the dock. Another is a button here in the menu bar. And a third is to use a keyboard shortcut. And I'll look at the keyboard shortcuts a little later. Right now let's go ahead and use the menu bar icon here. What's the weather going to be like today?
Here's the forecast for today.
So Siri seems to work pretty much like it does in iOS. And it will definitely answer all the same questions that you can ask it in iOS. One of the main ways it differs is that you've got the answer here on the right in this little Siri window, which you can move around and you can close. And you also have these plus buttons next to the answers. So if I wanted to add this answer to my notification center, I hit the plus button. Under notifications it adds this little panel here that's got today's weather for my current location. Now this won't just stay permanently with this. It'll update. So if I asked for I assume a sports score or a stock quote or the weather, I now have that in notifications under today, but I've got this thing will automatically update as time goes on. Now another way that Siri differs on the Mac, and this is subtle but very important, is that it doesn't take over the Mac like it takes over an iOS device. So for instance I could be here in Safari and surfing the web and I can ask Siri something. What's Apple stock doing today?
Apple is up 67 cents today, or 0.70% to $96.61.
So notice I'm still here in Safari and I can still use Safari. I can even do it while Siri was talking. And I've got basically multitasking here between Siri and Safari. This Siri window will remain on the top. Looks like I can't move it actually, but it will remain on the right and underneath. I can close it and I can use the microphone here to ask Siri more questions, but I don't have to stop working on what I'm working on here. I can have many windows open and have Siri open at the same time. So you can also drag and drop between Siri and other apps. So I've got Pages open here and say I want to insert into my Pages document some photos. So I can ask Siri to search the web. Search the web for photos of lightning.
Here are some images of lightning I found on the web.
So I've got this little grid here of lightning photos. And the interesting thing is I can drag and drop from it. So it'll be interesting to see what other types of drag and drop actions there will be from the Siri window to other apps. This one's interesting, but it's particularly confusing because where did this image come from? I mean, I could click on it to find out, but it's do I actually have the rights to use this image in my document? It's hard to say, but as a demonstration of technology here, of using Siri for something other than just viewing information and then dismissing it, it's interesting, and it'll be interesting to see where this goes in the final version of Sierra and then even beyond. So many of the functions that we have currently in Spotlight, like being able to use natural language search, we can do now through Siri. So for instance, if I wanted to find some files, I could ask Siri, show me the last Pages file I worked with.
Here you go.
And then I could use Show and Finder, or I could click on it, I can drag, I can double click on it to open. And you can ask for all sorts of different criteria. You can also search photos, although I wasn't able to currently get that working. I'm sure that'll be working by launch, where you can search photos just like you would inside of Photos, but you can ask Siri with photos not even opened yet. You can also post to Facebook or Twitter as long as you have your account set up in System Preferences. Just ask Siri to do it. So for instance, to do Twitter, I would just do this. Post to Twitter that I'm having a good day.
Here's your tweet. Ready to send it.
So I could respond.
Okay, I won't send it.
I could respond yes or no, or just hit those buttons there. But you can tell how easy it is to tweet or post to Facebook with Siri on your Mac. Of course, you can also use this for messages as well. You can say things like, send a message to my wife that I'll be home soon, or you can just start off a message like this. Send a message.
To whom should I send your message?
My wife.
What do you want to say to Debbie Rosenzweig?
I'll be home soon.
Here's your message. Ready to send it? Okay, let me know if there's anything else you need.
Siri also acts as another way into your system preferences, so you can do things like this. System preferences, energy saver. So I mentioned before keyboard shortcuts, there are actually a few settings and preferences. We can have Siri take us there. Siri preferences. So here you've got a button to enable it or not, your language, your voice, same basics as you have in iOS, whether or not Siri speaks back to you, which mic to use, and also the keyboard shortcut. So the default here seems to be currently holding Command and Space. So Command and Space is for Spotlight. So a quick Command Space brings up Spotlight, but if I were to hold Command and Space, it brings up Siri. But you can also change that to a good one, which is Function Space, the FN key in Space, or you can customize and choose your own. So you have a lot of options there. You also can determine whether or not you want this button here in the menu bar. You've got certain things you can customize. Of course, you need an internet connection to use Siri, because Siri, of course, is using Apple servers for all this information it's getting and for translating your voice to the text so that Siri can understand what it is you're saying. I actually think Siri on the Mac is going to be even more useful than Siri in iOS. Why? Well, I don't use Siri on iOS as much as I probably should, because when I'm using my iPhone, I'm usually around other people. I'm in a public place, I'm with my family, I'm traveling, doing something. So it's awkward to talk to my phone, and very often it's noisy around me. So to be able to use Siri can be difficult. However, on my Mac, I'm usually sitting in my office alone and it's quiet. So it's very easy for me to use Siri there. And it's usually when my phone is in my pocket or put away because I'm using my Mac. So I think I'll end up using Siri a lot more often on my Mac than I do on my iPhone.